Hi, this is Dan Albaum. Thanks for coming to check out Market Impact Insights. I have something really exciting to share, and that's the release of my new book, The Giving Edge: Why Putting Others First Creates Your Greatest Advantage. Through the real-life stories of 37 remarkable leaders, you'll see how their choice to bring a giving mindset every day has been the key for them to create maximum positive impact. You see, when we invest in lifting others, we see exponential returns in terms of influence, in terms of our leadership legacy, in making your organization and the world in which you live in a better place. You'll be able to find A Giving Edge wherever you find books. Beginning on June 9th, it's available right now as an ebook for pre-order on Amazon. I can't wait for you to experience The Giving Edge and look forward to your feedback. Now on to this week's podcast.
Welcome to another edition of Market Impact Insights, your podcast source for business leadership perspectives to help your business grow. Hear from experts in marketing, sales, business strategy, and more, with practical advice for business success. Make sure you won't miss the latest episodes by visiting marketimpactnow.com. Now, here's your host, Dan Albaum.
Welcome back to another great episode of Market Impact Insights. The focus today is on growth and how do we drive sustainable growth. If you are a B2B marketer, it's never been more challenging, but a lot of opportunity, a lot of change, a lot of evolution, new technology, AI. How is that impacting how we strategize and how we execute? We're going to get into all of that with Robin Emiliani, and she knows so much about this whole aspect of growth. She's the co-founder and chief growth officer for Catalyst Marketing. That's an AI-enhanced growth marketing company, and they're combining AI technology with strategic and creative expertise, and they're delivering solutions for clients that is really transformative and driving revenue inside of these companies over time. And Robin's background, she's worked with some of the leading technology companies in B2B. That includes Microsoft, Adobe, NetApp, Fastly, and more. And it's all about getting leaders to think differently. How do we leverage AI to drive more sales and actually achieve more in your role and really lift your teams to greater performance? And sometimes it really means thinking differently, thinking boldly. And we're going to get in all of that with Robin. Welcome to Market Impact Insights.
Why, thank you, Dan. It's great to be here.
So I want to start, you've had this really amazing career journey, but what originally sparked your passion to focus on a career in marketing?
Well, it's funny. The story goes way back to a really terrible sitcom called Who's the Boss? And Angela Bauer she was one of the main characters, owned an advertising agency. And I just fell in love with her and loved the idea of an advertising agency and the notion of branding.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, I was one of the very few kids when I went to college, I knew exactly what I was going to do. I knew exactly what my major was going to be, and I knew exactly what my career was going to be. I realized that's highly unusual, from compared to others.
Yeah, how incredible, because, so many of the conversations I've had where life just kind of happens, things happen, and it's not necessarily pre-planned. But for you, this has been a mission from a very early age.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. And so when you think back on that journey now, what's been some of the biggest personal learning you've taken from it? And have there been some surprises for you along the way?
Oh, for sure. I think one of the biggest learnings was really embarking in the B2B space. So I found myself early doing marketing for companies that were predominantly selling to other businesses, and really, learning that is complex. And those sales cycles are long, and just how important it is for when you're a marketing leader to be in lockstep with the sales leader and have a really good understanding of, those folks that are on the front line. What are the conversations that they're having? What are they experiencing? What are the challenges they're trying to overcome? And then really having a clear understanding of the competition and knowing how
Mhm.
they're going about the market and using that to your advantage.
Yeah, you touched on something there that's really big, and that's the relationship between marketing and sales. And I've seen that in a lot of different organizations that there can be a tension there. But I also know there's this point of view that says, that's actually can be a good thing, that there's such a thing as a healthy tension. Kind of what's your view of that dynamic, in that relationship?
This is something that I have a hard time believing just because in my, decades client side, I don't know if I was lucky enough to figure that out early that I really needed to have a great relationship with sales. So I worked in lockstep with them. So while I hear the plight of other marketers and, some of the friction that they have experienced, it's the one thing that I'm constantly pushing with them, that you have got to be immersed in their world, even if it's being on sales calls with them, listening to the conversations that they're having. The good news is a lot of these AI tools allows us to be able to analyze the conversations that they're having so that you can make your marketing that much smarter.
Hmm. And if there was one thing, one piece of advice you'd give to maybe a marketing leader they're struggling, maybe that relationship with sales isn't where they want it to be, there's one thing they could do to boost credibility and trust. What would you advise them to do?
Yeah, I don't underestimate the power of quick wins. And, as an agency, it's one of the things we've coached our team on, that yes, we're establishing and creating foundations for long term impact, but you have got to become a hero quickly. And in order to do that, you need to show some quick wins, which I know is contrary to a lot of B2B marketers' philosophy on creating campaigns and executing campaigns, that it's a long game. And I would agree with that. But please do not take your eye off the power of a quick win and helping generate and set up meetings for salespeople. I mean, nothing will make them happier than that.
I mean, would an example of a quick win even be something as simple as just taking the time to proactively get that voice of the customer input, as part of maybe a process? If you're developing messaging or positioning, you're trying to get the sales point of view. Is it something as simple as just being an active listener of sales?
Yes, absolutely. And like I said, the AI tools we can use now that are constantly recording and analyzing conversations, like simply having, a post mortem with a salesperson to say, hey, I heard this conversation and the prospect touched on this and this and this. Tell me more about that. How did you feel about responding to that? Did you feel comfortable with the features and benefits of our solutions or services? And where did you feel like there were shortcomings? Where did you feel like you weren't armed with the right information to be able to respond to those people? And going down another path here too, that I think another thing marketers take for granted in B2B is the power of sales enablement tools. So it's really the responsibility is on your shoulders to be able to create really great tools for those salespeople, to arm them for when they're having conversations with prospects. So consider sales enablement tools as another great way to have a quick win with a sales leader.
Well, now you founded your own company. So you kind of left a corporate environment. You went out in a more entrepreneurial path. And, in a lot of my conversations with company founders, they say that one of the hardest things they'll ever do is develop and sustain a healthy culture. What's made the difference for you at Catalyst to do that? And was that transition about what you expected, or what have been some of the experiences you've had making that shift?
Yeah, great question. I have analyzed this alongside my business partner Jem, and we've been together. We started Catalyst 10 years ago, so we just had our 10th birthday. And I think one of the most special things about our team is the culture that we've established and developed. And one of the things I probably underestimated was in the very beginning was the power of core values. And Jem and I, my partner, and I, created what our 6 core values were, and then constantly reiterating it. And then rewarding people that, exemplify some of those core values on a constant basis. So we have a channel on our Slack channel that, when somebody does a shout out or a compliment to one of our team members, we talk about which core value that they upheld. So reinforcing those on a constant basis, I think, is so important. And I think also the people that we're hiring and bringing onto this, there's been a couple people that we've interviewed over the years that we had to say no to just because they didn't feel like, somebody that would fit into our culture, because we very much have a positive attitude. We want to be the best meeting of our clients' week. So there has to be a level of energy and optimism, I think, that each team member brings to the table.
Yeah. Could you share maybe an example of some of those values that's made a difference for you?
Yeah. One of them is, the first one that comes to mind is, we find opportunity and change. And I think this is one of the reasons why we've been so resilient here at Catalyst, weathering everything from COVID to the Great Resignation and to AI to now a world war. This team is really adaptable, and we embrace change. We're not afraid of it. We expect it. We delight our clients is another one. Like, that is, first and foremost, like, happy clients is so critical to our service business. And so we stand up for each other and expect the best from each other. So we hold each other accountable. So we have quite a few and we've only tweaked a few of them over the years, and the rest have stayed pretty strong. So, which has been interesting, that they've just, stood the test of time.
Yeah, being comfortable with change is such a big one, right? Because we all have this choice we can make. If we're in a situation, things are changing, they're not predictable, and we can choose to either be in denial, or we could go kind of curl back into more fear mode, or we embrace it and we see change as a positive. And it sounds like you've created that framework there. You bring it into your recruiting, and so you just reinforce it probably every day. You see examples of that. Hey, we're just going to get after it and see change as a positive.
Yeah, and it's a real testament to this team, because in January of 2025, we flew the entire team into Denver and told them that we're going to lock arms and we're going all in on AI. And, the team had been dabbling in AI, but this was really like a commitment to ourselves and to our clients that we were going to become experts in this space. And, I said to my partner, I'm like, the team's either going to be okay with this, or they're going to all walk out the door. And the team, there was a little bit of trepidation, I think. And then there was some head nodding. And then it was kind of like, let's go. This is awesome. This is crazy. But cool, I'm in. So I think creating that culture of, like, these people that are completely fearless when change happens, and embracing it.
And when B2B marketers today, if they're thinking about driving sustainable growth, what are some of the biggest challenges you're seeing out there that maybe makes it a little tougher today to be able to make that happen?
Yeah, B2B marketing has completely turned on its side. I have never seen disruption like I've seen today, and I've been around a while. So this is a really unusual time for our marketing leaders and shepherding them through this. But probably the biggest thing is the downfall of email marketing. And email marketing was once such a critical part of, the box of tools for marketing leaders. And the market is just so noisy now, because everybody can create content at scale now, thanks to AI. So it's so noisy. It's really hard to rise above. So we are taking each of our clients and really coming up with new and unique ways to attack the market that's outside of email marketing. And I'm shocked that things like in-person events have been resurrected, like conferences are big again.
Yeah.
Never thought I would see that again, but those have come back, with a bang, which is awesome. And also creating and fostering, mini communities so that people can have real relationships instead of being, sitting behind a screen and trying to engage, with your prospect on the other screen.
Yeah, on the events, I'm just wondering, given what's happened the last 5 or 6 years and that period where there was a bit more isolation, during the beginning of the COVID pandemic, and do you feel like this is just kind of the yearning of people to create or get back to more of a physical connection with other people? So is it kind of just the pendulum swinging back, just saying, I really want to go out and connect because I feel a little bit more isolated? What do you think's going on there?
Oh, for sure. I think that's certainly, part of it. I think the other thing too is companies are finally realizing the importance of these events and the return on investment that they're getting from them. So companies are actually allocating more budget. I think the longing for in-person connection has been there, since COVID. So that's been persistent. The one thing that wasn't aligned were budgets, and now I'm seeing those budgets open up for in-person events, whether they're small scale or large scale.
Yeah, for sure. And you're all about growth and you're all about embracing AI. Are there still some big misperceptions out there you're seeing when it comes to AI?
Yeah, there's one big one, and it's it's shocking, and that is operationalizing AI. I would say every company or most companies have some, a handful of AI tools that they're using and leveraging. I think what people are not good at yet is operationalizing. And what that means is, how do you weave AI into the framework of your job, your team, and the goals you're trying to achieve? Like, how do you establish those consistent frameworks and processes so that you have it where you don't even have to think about it anymore? Right now, it's really ad hoc. It's kind of like the wild, wild west. This person on this team's dabbling in it for this. This person's using it for this. Like, no one's consistent about, number one, the tools, unless it's an enterprise corporation and you're required to use specific AI tools. So there's tool usage there. What are you using it for? So it just feels very chaotic right now. And I think nobody's really good at saying, okay, this is how we're weaving AI into the framework and the process for our business.
Do you feel like greater clarity is just going to come through kind of getting through, I guess, call it a equivalent to a storming, norming, kind of phase? Or how do you feel like we're going to get to maybe a better place when it comes to that operationalizing of AI?
Yeah, I think we're going to be forced. My partner and I just got back from an AI conference called HumanX, and it was certainly the theme was, and we were at the conference the year before, and it was all about, the year before was all about the new tools coming in and what's the latest and greatest. And now this year was about everyone's overwhelmed. So how do we create these frameworks so that we can become efficient? Because it feels like people are working even harder, which is contrary to what we're hearing in the market.
Yeah. Do you see another potential pitfall out there of kind of viewing AI as this panacea? So I may have broken processes and I may not be optimizing, but I mistakenly believe that just bringing these AI tools in will just automatically resolve those, and I'm not focusing on maybe addressing the broken process first because AI can't magically fix that. I mean, what are your thoughts around that kind of a dynamic?
Yeah, I mean, I would absolutely say that, you got to understand the root cause before you create an agent to actually fix the fix the problem or create the process. So it's delving into that. And frankly, you can actually use AI to help you with that, to diagnose what the true problem
Yes.
is, giving it all the inputs. Um, and don't undervalue the importance of giving your AI tools the information that it needs to be able to help you make smart decisions.
Yeah, there's probably a patience element that comes in there too, right? Some discipline to say, as anxious as I am to start showing these measurable results, let's make sure we get diagnosis right. And we're doing this in a way that is responsible and will get us to long-term success, not just in the moment. It's tempting though to just want to race to get something fast to show.
Yes.
Yeah, for
Humans
sure.
like instant gratification, that's for sure.
For sure. And so when you think about marketing strategy and execution and where that's headed over the next several years, how will AI really transform that from your perspective?
Yeah, I think we're going to get to a point where AI is going to feel like kind of like the internet is today. We don't think about it as this scary big thing anymore. It's just so woven into the fabric of our lives that we're completely dependent on it. I think we're going to get there with AI as well. Once we have a better understanding of how to work it into our daily lives, and that includes even your personal lives. Like my 20 somethings don't even use Google anymore. They use Chat GPT when they have questions. So I think we're on our way to that in the workplace. And I think some of this hype over people losing jobs over AI is going to settle down over time. We're seeing it already with a lot of our enterprise clients. It felt like that was a real moment in time. And we're going to see stabilization from it and then even growth from it.
Yeah, it seems something that's very encouraging is the amount of sharing that's going on. You get a lot of people that are open and transparent and sharing their experience and their learning with other people. And it's back to your community comment earlier. I think creating stronger sense of community that can do the mutual sharing that helps all of us feel a little more confident about where this is all headed.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. So in founding your own company and you're on a growth path and you're really building a foundation for the long term, what do you think separates truly exceptional leadership from just good enough?
Yeah, I would say two things. The first of which is going back to one of my earlier points about community and being resourceful and surrounding yourself with people, other leaders that you want to emulate. Find a group that where it's you're exposed to people where it's an iron sharpens iron environment where you can have hard conversations with other people and bounce ideas off of them. In that community too, you should find people that are a similar level so that it's lonely at the top. So having somebody that has had similar experiences to you, I think, is really helpful. I think both my partner and I have been really good, together and separately, finding groups that have really made us better as leaders, because we've had people say to us, "Hey, I don't know that you really approach that right, Robin. You should consider this or consider this." So I think that's been really helpful. I think the other thing that I underestimated was giving back and the power of that in creating a bigger community and frankly helping with sales. I have just shifted my mindset that I need to give more than I'm taking. So the more that I give to people, the more advice that I give, the more time that I spend with people, the more I'm going to get in return. And frankly, number one, that feels good. It feels good to give to people when they don't expect it. But it sure is nice when they come back and say, "Hey, Robin, you were so good to me. Thank you for helping me find that job. I want to engage with you as a result or engage with your team." So don't understand the don't underestimate the power of servant leadership and giving back to your people.
Okay, Robin, now you've really got me going because you've hit on some really big ones there. Servant leadership, putting others first, a giving mindset. I am so passionate about that. And did you have some really impactful role models along the way that kind of got you into that? Or was that more of a self discovery of saying, you know what, there is a better way and I'm going to commit to these philosophies?
You know, I it's hard to say, but I think that I'm a part of this group called the Acumen Council, and I think seeing some of the other servant leaders in my group doing it, maybe not as outward as I'm trying to do, but just seeing some patterns of, wow, these people do a lot. Like they do it without expecting anything in return. And so yes, I think there were some role models there, but I think this has been an aha moment probably in the last couple months for myself, that I'm like, wow, when I'm not stressing about trying to close the next deal and I'm really
Mhm.
about like, how can I help this person? How can I help this person? It comes back tenfold. And yeah, I underestimated the power of that.
Yeah, it's the ultimate leadership multiplier, right? What you're
Yes,
describing there in terms of how it can come back in ways you may not even know in the moment, but as it plays out, it's pretty incredible. And I know that you are constantly giving wise advice to your clients, but I want to flip it around, Robin, and ask you, what's the best piece of business advice you have ever received?
best piece of business advice. Something of late that I actually is contrary to advice I used to give. So when I had young marketing people or people that were going into a field of marketing, when they would come to me like, help me help me strive in my career. What are the things that I need to do? And I used to coach them to be specialists within the field of marketing because there's so many different areas and facets of marketing. And within the last year, I've had an epiphany that I actually think it's shifted thanks to AI, and you actually need to be an exceptional generalist. And so I'm eating crow after giving people advice, which was given to me once upon a time, to be a specialist. And now I'm telling folks, like, because you have all these tools at your fingertips now, you can be a specialist in a lot of different areas, but be an exceptional strategist and be an exceptional generalist.
And certainly that could be beneficial. You'd think just within a given organization that's going through different changes or restructuring, the more skill sets that you have, the more confidence you have, just positions you potentially better to evolve into different roles. So it's flexibility and adaptability, right? That comes into
That's
play.
exactly right. That's exactly right. You can kind of roll with the punches as you're facing change, and you're malleable and can be able to adapt to the situation and tackle other roles you may not have considered before.
So when you think about the future, what makes you optimistic?
I'm seeing a bit of a stabilization in the market. So we work with a lot of B2B enterprise tech companies, and because they're big companies, I often tell people like I can see the future. And so we saw a lot of the things like the layoffs coming over a year ago. And now we're seeing a stabilization in that. So I'm excited that, we've we're no longer overreacting to AI anymore. And I think for marketers, it's an exciting time to be in this industry because I think things are going to evolve really rapidly. And to me, that's exciting. That's what wakes me up in the morning. Instead of doing the same old, it's like, okay, well, how are we going to tackle this complex marketing and sales cycle, this complex lead generation that once was pretty rote, from email marketing to a little bit of digital advertising to content syndication. Now we have to really think out of the box. So to me, it's about, all these new channels that we get to use and the new ways of going about that. I think one thing that, marketers have finally gotten smart at is being able to show how their marketing impacts revenue. And so I think marketers are getting really good at doing that. And thanks to AI, they're able to show the reporting and the trends and be able to show their worth more than they ever have before.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing that comes up a lot in various marketing and or CMO communities. It feels like that role, the CMO role, there's so much pressure, isn't there, right now to produce really quick results. It feels like that leadership role for marketing, it's really high pressure right now.
Yeah, and I think once upon a time marketers were held accountable for impact to revenue, and now I think all CMOs are. So getting really good at being able to tell your story, like here's how I drew the line all the way from the marketing efforts that we made to revenue is so critical and so important. But I think the good news is, and I think back to like there was a time when I worked for a company, a linguistic software company, and I remember pulling the reports manually and the hours and hours and hours it took for me to pull all of that data, make sense of the data, and then make pretty charts for my board for them to be able to understand how I was impacting sales was so arduous. And now I have it like at the tips of my fingers. Like it's incredible the evolution of that, which I'm very appreciative for.
Oh yeah, I mean it's totally changing the time continuum, isn't it? Because the way in which you're even thinking about scheduling your time during the week, if a lot of this stuff is just so rapidly and just significantly being shortened now, okay, does that mean is that more strategic thinking time? So the bigger thing is like, how do I utilize those time savings too? That's another decision.
Yeah, I do think it's allowed me to be a lot more strategic and to lift up instead of doing some of this, manual day-to-day busy work I don't have to do anymore. I just have created agents to be able to take care of that.
Yeah. Well, do you have any other final advice for leaders that are trying to create more positive impact in this AI world and elevate the performance of their teams?
Yeah, I think be fearless, anticipate change, expect it, and be bold with your decision making and, be leaders for your teams to say, let's embrace this, let's go all in. And then showing yourself some grace to say, not everything's going to work out perfectly. You have to take some intelligent risks. You're going to skin your knees and anticipate that, but just start to double down on some of the things that you've implemented that are working really well. But know that AI is very much like the internet, and soon enough we will all become experts at it. And it's just a moment of time, and to just go forward boldly with it.
It's all about that bold mindset. Robin, thanks for sharing your journey and reminding all of us that change is good. We need to embrace it, even with
Yeah.
this fast moving thing called AI. I really enjoyed the conversation.
Yes, I did too. Thank you so much, Dan. I appreciate it.
And a reminder, please continue to give the gift of feedback to help make this podcast even better. You can do that by going out and giving a rating and a review. It's so easy to do on all the major podcast platforms, including Apple Podcast and Spotify. And as always, make sure to visit marketimpactnow.com for the latest in business leadership perspectives. So long until next time.